Good evening, good morning, and good night. Welcome to Inappropriate Radio. It's your host, Shauna. Let's get into this. So, hi guys. This evening we're going to be discussing the periodic table. I don't know all of the elements and their atomic numbers by heart. As we know, the elements or the compounds on the periodic table are the components to life, right? These elements are used in chemistry, all other, different sciences, physics, etc., right? In the beginning, I thought that I was supposed to just discuss like the actual elements and like what their atomic number is, but the Most High wants me to tell everyone to start studying the compounds listed. So if you go to the periodic table, the elements are in rows, and the columns are the groups, right? When this table was initially organized, obviously all of the elements weren't there, and it said to be still some elements that are actually missing and actually not on the table. So like I said, I don't know all of the elements. I only know the main ones, like what we learn in school, right? Like nitrogen, hydrogen, what do you call it? I'm sorry, like carbon, potassium, right? Magnesium, lithium, sodium, oxygen, iron, silver, gold, things like that, right? Platinum, zinc. Those are pretty much the main ones. Helium, right? As we know, all living things in this dimension cannot exist without hydrogen, nitrogen, oxygen, and carbon, right? So I think those would be a good starting for. Obviously, if you are more advanced in this knowledge, you would not be really paying attention to that because that's like basic information, right? But then when you start looking at the different groups, you'll start noticing that the atomic number obviously is going to change. It increases, but these are elements that we don't really use in everyday life. And I think that's the point, to really start learning, the differences between the metals, and really try to figure out what these things can do for us on a metaphysical level. I know that, as we discussed many episodes ago, how we used to have blood, that was gold based, right? We had a gold base of blood, and now it's iron based, right? And the reason why it changed is because as we basically got watered down in this dimension, our blood became oxidated and it was broken down into a different base, right? All of these elements come from somewhere. Some of them we do know, some of them we don't. Some of these elements exist in other spaces, right? Other places, like the universe, right? So I think the overall point of this topic is to pretty much learn and figure out what are the natural elements that we can study that can assist us, right? How can we learn the periodic table in a way that can help us survive as a people? Because remember, these are natural things, right? Some of these things you can just go out and find in the ground or in the air. I think I had told you guys about my summer internship program when I worked with a doctor who he made a device that can test the particles in the air, and they found this substance called black matter, where it's basically like this space that sits between the ozone layer and like our highest level of atmosphere, and is coming from a combination of all the different, particles that's basically considered waste, right? It's like waste matter and it's just sitting. And he hypothesized that this space is what's contributing to the increase in amount of children that are asthmatic or suffer from symptoms of bronchitis, right? Now, this was in 2012. Something like that, right? When I did this internship. So I'm pretty sure now, fast forward 10 years later, they definitely would have devices that are more advanced. And I'm pretty sure even at that time they had things, but he was just one man, working off of a university grant. So just imagine having a laboratory where you're being supported by a much larger institution. So the overall gist is, pretty much to learn about these elements and see what we really, really could use, what we have access to right now that we don't have to really search too hard for, and it's obviously going to be free, right, and abundant to us. So and I think it's important to keep in mind that a lot of these things are radioactive. And with everything going on, like in the world right now, with like the money system and so many uncertainties, I think it's really important for us to start learning the terrain, right? This space that we're living in is much more than our materials. We have a lot of things that have been given to us by the Creator that we don't utilize. That's been put here for our greater good. Again, nothing lives in this dimension without nitrogen, carbon, hydrogen, or oxygen, right? So obviously these elements are very important. Clearly people who, study metaphysics and science and biology, they have a greater depth of understanding of these elements. But for people like you and I, who are regular common folk, right, we don't really have access to many of these elements to even test them to see what they can do when they interact with one another, right? So I think that's just the overall thing. Let's really start trying to find out, like, where we live, what do we have access to in abundance, what's the most important elements, what can be mixed with what's missing off of the chart, like what group does it belong to. Like, those are simple questions that, if answered, could really, really help us out. I think I had stated that we were done with the series about the atheism thing, that challenge. I think that was just God's way of like being crazy. But right now, fast forward to today, I really want to, just go into this. I think we're going to turn this into a series. Yeah, I think we're going to turn this into a series. Oh yeah, happy Father's Day. Happy belated Father's Day to all the dads once again. I hope y'all enjoyed y'all day and y'all weekend. All right, now I want to first go into this, right? Before we even start discussing all of these elements, I just want to say that I am not an expert. I am Googling this stuff. There's also another site called Google Scholar. As we phase through the series, we're going to have this discussion together. So I'm going to be learning. I went to college. I have a degree in psychology. So a lot of this stuff is going to kind of be like a refresher, like the basic stuff, because biology is a requirement for psychology, right? So I did have to learn some of this stuff, not in so much detail. Initially, I wanted to just go over the main elements, but the Most High is like, no, we're going to go into this a little bit more detail based and, get a little more detail oriented, right? Now, remember, if you know something, I always encourage you guys to do your own research. If you want to call in or like message me, email me, and give me some information, or if I said something wrong, you can always let me know if I made a mistake, okay? But just for the sake of conversation and for the sake of learning for the future, because that is what the aim is for all of this. Every discussion is about explaining ways that we could possibly fix our circumstances, possible solutions, and moving forward. I'm not really going into too much of anything. If it's not like dealing with me personally and directly, if it's like a topic that's not about me, or if it's not anything that I have experienced firsthand for real, it's not going to be about the past. All of everything we're discussing is about warfare and, having a better experience with life overall. Okay, so that's basically, what we're doing right now. We're trying to find solutions to our problems. We don't know what the future is going to hold, so it's not going to hurt to learn about these elements that are pretty much given to us, right? They're free. They're here in abundance. Depending on where you are geographically, you may have access to an array of these elements. If you have access to people that have a greater depth of knowledge, that's a plus. You might want to ask them to break this down to you in a way that's like like lamer termed. And try not to complicate this, because there's a lot of different parts that goes into the periodic table. But if you just follow the guidelines and just know okay, the groups, right? We're going to start simple and ease into it. But it's very important for us to understand why we're doing this, what these elements mean, what they do, where are they, what cannot be mixed with what should be mixed with what, how did anyone discover that water was hydrogen and oxygen, right? How did anyone, find out that everything living, including animals and plants, have hydrogen, carbon, nitrogen, and oxygen, right? How did anyone know that we had iron in our blood? All of this thing is just about learning and us progressing and finding out how these things are useful to us and what we are supposed to be doing with them. So that's what we're going to be doing this week. That is definitely the series, the periodic table. And before we go, I just wanted to say that, again, I am not an expert. We're going to be learning together. I do Google and Google Scholar. If you have any information where you may consider yourself a little more advanced in this area, please reach out. Please go on the YouTube page, leave a comment under the video, email me, text me, call in. It doesn't matter. I just really want us to start utilizing what it is that the Most High gave us. Well, I don't want it. The Most High wants it, and I'm just saying it. Okay. Yeah. So that's pretty much it. I think once we get into this, because I did say we were going to start going out into the community. I'm trying to come up with some really creative ways to make the podcast and the channel more interesting and just more of an experience that makes sense for everyone, right? To attract more listeners and people that understand life beyond, the naked eye. And I think this is good. This is a good way to start moving into that direction, right? So, okay. I think I'm going to leave it here. I hope you guys enjoyed your weekend. I hope you guys are going to be doing something really cool for the kids. If your kid needs tutoring or assistance for summer school, reach out to me, because I'm probably going to be doing evening hours, on the weekends, maybe Sundays. I'll try to do it on a down day because I know it's summer. Maybe Sunday and a Monday. I'm going to do a virtual tutoring type of thing. I'll give everybody the details. But if your kid is going to go to summer school, or if they're studying for an exam to get into college, or if they're, studying for whatever just reach out to me. I love y'all. I hope y'all drink your water, eat y'all fruit and your vegetables. I hope y'all are minding y'all business and sipping y'all tea because it's free. Love y'all. Peace.